This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we are the ones that encourage you to like and share them on social media and with all your friends, because right now, Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce presents Joanne's World of Nutrition with Joanne Seeger and her special co-host this morning.
That's right. Dr. Ravi is in the house. Good morning, Dr.
Good
Ravi.
morning. It's been a while.
I know, it's so good to see you.
I think I skipped out last month.
I lost track. I just pretty much stay in that present moment thinking because I can't remember yesterday. So there we go. Okay, I just noticed that my shirt completely blends in with the backdrop. So for any of you that watch me on live, I'm just going to disappear into the wall.
You want to talk about color coordination. That's the best ever.
Well, yeah, my mother-in-law gave me the shirt, and I'm looking in the backdrop. I'm like, I literally match perfectly. All right, so little side note. All right, Dr. Ravi, do you remember how to breathe?
I do. I would hope so.
So hopefully all our listeners do. If we have any newbies, welcome to the show. Every show we start with a quick breath exercise. Don't skip it, okay? It's really important, and I really need it this morning. So let's all join together. We're going to exhale out drama, stress, negativity, fear, anything you're coming through, or just do it for fun. Yeah. And you're going to inhale only using your nose for 5, hold for 5, exhale through your nose for 5. Let's just do 2 rounds, Cliff, today, because we got a lot of info to cover.
5, 5, 5.
All right, so let's exhale, everyone.
Let it all out, and now begin your intake through your nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, intake. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you very much, Cliff. All right, Dr. Ravi, I promised one of my loyal radio show listeners a couple weeks ago that we were going to talk about the heart with you. And you were so accommodating, and you were jumped right onto the bandwagon. But we do have a lot of info to cover. Unfortunately, like Dr. Ravi's about to tell us, there is definitely a heart issue happening in the world. So this is definitely a show, if you can take notes. We really kind of went through a lot of information to bring you up-to-date info, because there is, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of a lot of things that you really have to have an open mind. Whatever you thought you knew, it might be different. So just really keep an open mind about this. And if you ever want to call Dr. Ravi or myself to find out where we got our info from, we'd be happy to share it. But the show is too short to go over all the different sites that we use. All right, so Dr. Ravi, do you want to start with the grim news?
Yes. And Joanne, you said it completely right. It's definitely having your mind open. Because, we're trained one way, our doctors tell us something, and some of these statistics I'm going to share with everyone today is definitely mind opening. So it tells us that, we need to look more into what we're doing for our own health, because, we have the best technology, we have the best schools, the best doctors around. But what keeps happening is our numbers for cardiovascular disease is constantly on the rise. Joanne, it's estimated that 17.3 million deaths per year happen from a cardiovascular episode, whether that's a heart attack, a stroke, even problems with the heartbeat, like arrhythmias.
Yep.
And so, when you look long term, the CDC actually states by year 2030, and that's 9 years from now, it's going to grow by 23.6 million deaths per year.
That's a really scary number.
And so,
I remember years ago, it was only like if you're uncle or your mom or someone had the issue, you even thought about this subject. Now pretty much everyone has to think about it.
Yeah, everyone has to think about it and start making the decisions today what they're going to be doing to prevent these episodes. Because, if you look back at your familial lineage, someone that has heart disease, has had a heart attack, but it's the way that we live, our lifestyle, that dictates if you're going to be a subject to that.
Exactly.
So,
I lost my mom to a heart issue, and it caught us by surprise, and that's pretty scary.
It is scary. One person dies every 36 seconds of a cardiovascular disease, and a heart attack happens every 40 seconds. And so I'm glad we're talking about this, because as we're coming into the season of the holidays, I'm going to share this pretty interesting fact. Mondays are when most heart attacks happen.
I totally get that.
And on Christmas Day, that's the most common day for heart attacks.
Yep.
So we're going to be giving you guys some opportunities to take control of your own health.
And it's
because
never too late. It's never too late.
Exactly. If you put your hands in your doctor's hands, you're only going to be getting some medication and some advice, but that's not really going to solve the issue. And so I'm going to put a little disclaimer here.
I also have to mention, because everyone knows sometimes my sarcastic tone comes out on the show, is that statins, the number one drug sold in the world, right? And we still have the number one highest ranking heart disease in the world, right? So something's wrong. Obviously, it's not working. So really, I'm trying to say it like a joke, but it really is common sense here. Statins don't work. So, okay, that's out there.
Good. Yes. And so, some of the symptoms that I want to go over with everyone on the show that's listening or watching is that, the most common side effects or issues with having a heart attack is left arm numbness, that heavy feeling on your chest, your heart beating, you're sweating a lot, even having headaches, specifically women having jaw pain on the left side. These are common
they say, like, the
causes.
Feeling like your bra is too tight, but it really isn't.
Yes.
A lot of women say that.
Okay. Yeah. These are definitely common symptoms of having an episode. So if you're ever experiencing one of these things, definitely check into a hospital, because they can save your life in that moment.
Better safe than sorry.
I don't want you coming to my office or going to the nutrition store. After you get checked out, that's where you want to go to then take care of your health.
Right? Because sometimes, like I just mentioned, you wake up in the middle of the night. Is it GERD? Is it acid reflux? Is it neuropathy? Is it anxiety? It's like, you go through that guessing game. But we are set up here, between bypasses and stuff. It could be a really important call you make.
Yeah. And with heart disease, these statistics that we're sharing, these things don't just develop overnight. So knowing your numbers of your cholesterol, knowing how your heart rate is functioning, knowing these things today can tell you exactly where you're heading. And if these things are putting an alarm on your radar, taking advantage of it, supplementing and looking at where you're eating, and just overall taking care of it more naturally before you end up in that system.
Yeah, so we're going to give you 10 common tips today. So I'm going to go into the tips as Dr. Ravi's going to actually explain to you how the heart is working with the anatomy of the body, and he knows that way better than me. And that's why we work together so well. So I know what things that are preventative, and that's the thing. It's never too late. So even if you already got bad heart news, it doesn't matter. You can start right now. It doesn't matter if your mother, father, uncle, everyone in your family has had issues. It doesn't matter. You can still reverse it. So should I start with my first tip, and then you can start with the anatomy aspect?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So first, if people have been a loyal listener for a long time, they'll know my nutrition school story, which is, I graduated high school a year early, moved from Long Island to Boston to go to school. And because I was so broke, and my parents didn't have the money to help me out at that time, youngest of 8 kids, I can't even imagine. I was the cook of the house that 12 students lived in to pay for my rent. And it was a Japanese household. The owners were right from Japan. They were part of the school. One of them, the father was the teacher, one of the teachers. And what a learning experience. Do I wish I was a little older to appreciate all that I experienced and learned? Definitely. I took a lot of things for granted back then. But let me tell you, Japan has the lowest incidence of heart disease. And I feel like living in that house, now it all makes sense and I know why. So a lot of my tips are going to come from my personal experience. But the first one, which is to me the funniest story that I'll never forget for the rest of my life, is how when they have mealtime, it is sacred. It is quiet. They're together with loved ones and they chew their food. So again, I'm making fun because when I first experienced what that means, I literally, the Japanese man, he would chew his soup. So we would start with a miso soup, at every meal, even breakfast. And he literally would chew that soup. And I am not used to that, being the youngest of 8 kids. And I think we do it in America so much. We would be eating on the go. I'd be cramming food down so my brothers wouldn't steal it from my plate. So here I came from that life to sitting in this quiet room where there wasn't yelling or doors slamming to this chewing. He would try to chew up to 300 times, which is what he taught in his class as well. Could you imagine chewing miso soup 300 times? I would crack up so bad I'd almost pee in my pants and have to crawl away from the table because we were sitting on the floor. But so that's my first tip, is to and I always am trying to make the tips where you don't get this what not to do list. I hate those because I feel like any grocery store magazine, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But so I'm going to try to give you tips about what to do. So my first one is have nice, quiet meals with your family or loved ones and chew your food. So that's my first tip.
And I have to say this, I'm going to stick in here and say, with my smoothies during my lunch, what I do is I throw some almonds in there.
Oh, great idea.
And so it actually forces me to chew my smoothie.
Yep, exactly. That's a great idea, especially so you don't choke.
Yes. Yes. I want to go into anatomy of the heart. And so what's really cool with the heart is it grows as we grow. So a baby's fist is the size of the baby's heart. An adult's fist is the same size of our heart. And so with the heart, the main purpose of the heart is to send oxygenated blood to every single tissue so it can thrive effectively. And so while this is happening, and how it's happening is your heart is beating. And so this is why beats per minute is very important. That tells you exactly how fast the heart's going. And so throughout the body, you have arteries. These arteries send oxygenated blood to those muscles and even to the organs. And it's pretty cool. A cool statistic here is 60,000 miles is basically the length of all your arteries in your body.
That's incredible. Incredible.
The body's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And it beats 115,000 seconds
Oh my God.
a day.
Wow.
Heartbeats.
That's incredible.
An individual. That is normal. Normal heartbeat should be between 70 to 80 beats per minute. And so what happens is when we get stressed, when we're not eating right, or we have cholesterol issues, it causes our blood vessels to become very thin and it loses its width. And so what happens is the heart has to pump more and work harder, and that creates stress to that cardiac muscle. What happens then? It creates an attack. Oxygenation does not get to where it needs. So when there's deficient oxygen to the heart, that leads to the heart attack. And if there's deficient oxygen into the brain, that can lead to a stroke. Obviously, there's other things like when you have atherosclerosis, which is basically hardening of the arteries. When those little chunks get knocked off due to the flow of hard pressure on the vessel, it can lead to a clogged artery, leading to a deficiency in oxygen to the brain or any part of the body.
Okay, that's a great explanation. Are veins the same thing as arteries?
No, they carry deoxygenated blood, and those are a bit longer. We have a lot more of those in our
Cool.
body.
I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
I figured I'd throw that
Now,
out there.
it does lump into like a cardiovascular illness like varicose veins. And if you have varicose veins, this is definitely something to keep an eye on about your general cardiovascular system, your heart health as well.
Yes, and I do want to caution you when you use the internet, especially Google some of these things. You know, you Google that you have a varicose vein, all of a sudden they have you dying of heart attack within the week. So be very careful about what you read and understand that a lot of this is not only preventable but reversible. So you know, it's your health is in your hands. You got to stay calm about it and realistic about it. So, because anxiety, panic, fear will only make the condition worse and more likely to have heart attack versus the opposite. All right, and this leads into my second tip. So Japan, number 1 for the lowest incidence of heart disease. Korea is number 2. And so the next tip, those two countries have it in common. Okay, so if you ever watch any movie based in Korea, even China, Japan, right? What do you see on the corners or in the parks, especially early in the morning or at lunchtime? Is 100 people moving very slowly and gently moving their hands in all different directions, right? Well, that one of the styles is called Qigong. Then there's Tai Chi, or they can simply be doing meditation. I always call Qigong moving meditation. It's what I suggest when people can't comprehend the idea of sitting quietly. Maybe they just feel too much anxiety or agitation, or they feel that, oh no, it's a little too controlled. So Qigong now, there's hundreds of amazing free lessons on YouTube, or you can get inexpensive videos on Amazon. But I am telling you, there are clinical studies using Qigong not only to lower blood pressure, but also to bring down your cortisol levels, your stress levels, and help increase your chances of not having heart disease in all forms. It doesn't matter if it's AFib or arrhythmia issues or blockages. And so it's really hard to get double-blind clinicals, even though they did 11 of them. But it's really tough because to really look at this group and all the other things they're doing, you know, they're factored in, but they did follow for 20 years, 203 participants. And so the Qigong, the Tai Chi, and the meditation was what the group had all in common for the most likely to not have any heart disease. So I think that's a great thing to add in from all the things I read, and I took this long 3-day Qigong workshop. It was intense. I mean, we're talking like 11 hours a day. I did a Qigong 3 days in a row. It was crazy. But I felt so amazing. But you only need 15 minutes. So whether it's meditation or Qigong, they usually suggest it right at sunrise, first thing, and then another time a day. There's ones that you can do to help increase your energy level, because like Dr. Ravi said, the more movement you do, like even a nice brisk walk, increasing that blood flow, that oxygenation, obviously is going to help your heart muscle. So that's my second tip. Include Qigong or Tai Chi or meditation every day, a minimum of 15 minutes. That's super easy, and it costs $0. No matter your mobility, you can do it. All right.
And that's definitely going to get more oxygen through your body.
Yep, and Qigong's so easy. It's not hard on the joints. It's very, very slow movements. If anything, you feel like you want to rush it because that's like, to me, like the American thing. Wait, I got to move fast to make my heart work. And actually, that can be dangerous because you put more oxidative stress and you might get blood flow too quickly and actually cause damage. So start slow and more meditative.
So I'm going to piggyback off of what Joanne's saying here with oxidative stress. This is definitely a pathogenesis or a disease-causing issue for, hypertension, so high blood pressure, the arrhythmias, the abnormal heartbeats, and the atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries or high bad cholesterol in those arteries. And so in our Western system, the way we're looking at things is how can we get rid of some of this oxidative stress that we're knocked down every day with is with vitamin C, essential oils, so aromatherapy. There's actually been no documented scientific data research, but there's a lot of peer-reviewed articles out there. But what we know from deductive reasoning,
years, though.
But what we know from deductive reasoning is if lavender essential oil helps to decrease and stress, and heart attacks are a cause from stress, we can make note that if you're using a lavender essential oil, it's going to help relax you.
And what does it hurt?
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, $10,
it's not a medicine.
A diffuser, or sprinkle it on your pillowcase at night.
Exactly. Yeah. So lavender essential oil. You also have cypress essential oil, lemon, and clary sage.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
For decreasing heart rates. So if you're ever in a circumstance or in a stressful work environment, definitely having this on your countertop, on your desk, diffusing constantly, it'll help decrease heart rate. Also,
are you still selling the oils at
we
the
do
practice?
We do have essential oils in our office.
Makes it convenient. That's wonderful. Okay.
And another one that I love is laughter.
Laughter
Is the best.
We definitely need more of that right now. Holy moly.
And it's interesting, when I'm going into businesses and workplaces to give a health talk or something, it's always a serious environment. And I mean, it could be good, but sometimes it's fun when your employees are laughing. It helps take that onto other individuals, decreasing stress.
Yes, and that's the key. And it's like sometimes I feel like there's a guilt stigmatism to like just being happy or making jokes because, oh, you don't know what I've been through, or you don't know what, that person's been through. But no matter what, we need joy and laughter and fun because it only makes things better. Mm-hmm. It could never hurt anything as long as you're not poking fun. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to the Black Box comedy show. And,
nice.
And I said to Matt, do you mind being picked on? Because they're really famous for that, And he's like, well, how much being picked on? All right, so it's time for my next tip. Okay. So tip number 3 for preventing heart disease is another one I learned from living in the Japanese household. But I think right now, because of COVID, this is making a comeback, which I'm thrilled about, which is having your own personal garden. So now some of them, everything like I see on social media is making about hydroponics and big white epoxy plastics and all this fancy stuff. But it doesn't have to be that fancy. It can be like one planter box with some herbs in it. But we had to pick for each meal, and we did the 2 meals a day at the house. So I was responsible for breakfast and dinner. We had to pick from our garden. So we did not go to the store for the produce. Everything was in the garden. The herbs, which they didn't use a lot of herbs, so I have to make note. That's definitely not a Japanese culture thing. But they did have all the fresh produce. So I would go with my little, basket, and I would pick whatever looked ripe. And I can't believe, like, now I feel like I kill, even one little plant. But back then I was pretty good at it. But what they show, not only are you eating fresh produce that's not been transported thousands of miles with 300 or more different chemicals, you actually get the health benefits from maintaining the garden. So it's not just about eating the fresh produce. So it's about tending the soil, getting all the microorganisms in the soil to connect with your microflora, to actually have the stress-free experience of taking care of the plants and making sure they stay healthy and well. So there is that direct connection, once again, to bringing oxidative stress levels down, your cortisol down, being outside in nature. So again, Japan, Korea, even France, which is ranked number 3, again, a direct connection to, and community. A lot of times, because land was so valuable in these places, they would do community gardens. So not only you're tending the garden, but you're working and socializing with friends and loved ones at the same time. So that's a huge tip. And again, it doesn't have to be a huge, perfect, state-of-the-art techie garden. It can just be one plant or box. So I would definitely work on that in each house.
So my little tip on this is when we try to do our own gardening at home, we may be a little
Inept.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the pesticides and the
Yeah,
herbs,
yeah.
herbicides. We tend to use chemicals. Be aware of the things that you're spraying on your fruits and your vegetables in your garden, whether you have it outside or inside. One big thing is choosing more organic usage of pesticides or herbicides. Roundup, these things do create a lot of other health effects, but one
they're
big
poison.
one,
They'll kill you.
Yeah, it'll kill you over time. The diatomaceous earth is a great pesticide to keep the pesky bugs away. And once again, that's diatomaceous earth. You can pick that up at
Neem oil.
Neem oil is also great, and it's not going to affect your produce and your
I love
vegetables.
in the big box stores, if you go to the gardening section, at least they have organic soil now, right? But there's like rows and rows, like 80 feet of all the glyphosate poisonous types, and then you see this one little tiny bottle of like neem oil. And of course it's like triple the price for an eighth of the size, but yeah.
Yes.
It's still there, so thank God.
Yes. Neem oil has some great
Health
Ayurvedic
too.
benefits as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Helps to decrease oxidative stress, so it's an antioxidant. My wife actually uses it in her hair.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has amazing. That's why it's in toothpaste and mouthwash.
Yep.
And neem is like one of those all-inclusive, wonderful things. You know what else is super good from that Ayurvedic thinking is amla sea berry. So amla sea berry is popular because people think of it as a natural source of vitamin C, but it also had an incredible study to bring up HDL. So HDL is that one, I always say, remember H for high. You want good numbers. And so the amla sea berry will help bring that up while bringing LDL down and improve your triglyceride number. So with no side effects like muscular weakness and all these other horrific side effects of heart disease
Statin
drugs.
medication.
Yeah. So amla sea berry, we call it, the formula we have at our store is called healthy cholesterol. So obviously you can only say that when there's a clinical to prove something. So that's a cool one. Super safe, super affordable, and it's a win-win. The vitamin C to stop the oxidative stress. So no coincidence, it's probably that does the mechanism to make the ratios better.
And it's actually a fruit, so it's not getting from a man-made vitamin C.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to put you on the spot, but as far as the heart, like I know so many people now with arrhythmias and AFib, so you obviously can live with them. It's not like a heart attack where you could possibly, the mortality you would. So what's the deal with that?
You can live with it. I feel what is happening is the patients that I come in contact with is, they come in, they tell you they have this and that, and it is definitely a heart rhythm going on. And they go on Facebook or Google and they ask these questions, and then they end up at a cardiologist's office and they're going to want to do some kind of procedure. So they come in asking me my thoughts and my concerns. And so from the chiropractic standpoint is there's a disconnect with their electrical system, right? And so our body has an electrical system, and it's your nervous system. And so what happens is when you have too much pressure on a nerve, specifically the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, your body's not going to be in sync together. So for those of you who haven't heard this before, the parasympathetic nervous system is basically responsible for resting and digesting your body, to calming your state down. And the sympathetic nervous system is the one that gets you in that fight or flight response, gets you ready for a tough circumstance. And so if you're always living in a sympathetic response, you're going to have rapid heartbeats. You're going to have stressful situations. And so as chiropractically speaking, what I get to do is remove and the stress off of the body and balance that nervous system effectively. So the heart can beat well, the stomach can digest well, and have a good smile on your face.
That sounds really important. I've been using those big words, parasympathetic system, almost daily now because of the breath work. And so we have one example of it from Wim Hof on our website.
Yes.
But now I've been all about this European guy on YouTube that's called Take a Deep Breath, the Navy SEAL method or the box method. To me, it's a little easier for a beginner than the Wim Hof, but I love because Wim Hof is the one that brought it to the world's attention that you could control your parasympathetic system through your breath, which they said was impossible. So again, things change, and we learn more every day. So it's okay to say, oops, that was wrong. Now this is better. So, how amazing that breath work can do this. So we try to practice the breath work every day. Again, free, available to all, and you can just follow it on YouTube. There's 4 minutes all the way up to 40 minutes, depending on how long you can go.
Yeah.
So
talking about the Wim Hof experience, if anyone ever has that experience, an opportunity to do that, do it. Or you can just do it in your shower. When you're in a stressful situation, just turn the cold water all the way on and just for 30 seconds and just challenge yourself to just do it for 30 seconds. And you will notice you're going to sleep well. You're going to be more relaxed.
Yeah, I notice in Florida, at least for Floridians, the whole idea of a cold shower really doesn't exist until those 3 days in winter when it's actually cold. But it's not so bad of a shock where, you'll feel like you're going to hypothermia like he does at his camp.
Yes.
I see them in that ice water. I'm like, oh, my God.
It's crazy.
Yes, but super cool stuff. So if you haven't heard of these people, this is something that really is worth your time. So shut off the news and research breath work. Much healthier for your heart versus watching the news, which is definitely a stressor on the heart.
Yes.
All right. So should I do my next tip? It's my favorite one.
What is it?
It is, let's see, what number are we at? We are number 4.
Oh,
4. Yep, I know. We should be probably at 5 at this point. So number 4 is what all the blue zones, so the places in the world that live the longest, also have in common with the 3 healthiest heart disease countries. And that is community and having loving relationships. Did you know in Okinawa, Japan, that they have this saying that from not birth, but from being a young child all the way up to the day you die, you stay with 5 of your closest friends. So not family members, friends, and you're connected. You're there for them, like as a mentor, as a support system, and you're bonded to them. And I think that's super cool. Like in Christianity, they always say you are the reflection of your 5 closest people.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you want to pick well when you're young.
Yes.
But I thought that makes so much sense because the blue zones, they always say it's not what we eat, it's who we eat with. Because if you look at all these people, they have some food similarities, but for the most part, it's especially with France and Korea. And France eats completely different than Japan. But community, being together, having social times, it's big part of their countries. And I love that because, again, I grew up in a family that always had the doors open, neighbors come in, never formality. And my mom, I think that's why we couldn't fit everyone in the funeral, because she was loved all around the world, because she hugged everyone, kissed everyone, no drama, no judgment. And I think really everyone needs to take a hard look at number 4, because community, family.
Community is everything.
Yes, it is everything. And I feel like that one, I should have put that number 1. Really, we got to get back to that.
Yes.
We have to do that.
I agree. And so for our Western side world, finding a church group, finding those 5 people to hang out with that are going to uplift
system,
you. Yeah. Very important for your health.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where, if you don't have, it doesn't matter about blood family. You just got to find the connection.
Or just hang out at Joanne's store.
Yeah,
or my office.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So what are you going to talk about next? Do you know?
Was the number 5?
Okay. So number 5. Oh, you would be good at this one, even though we're both coffeeaholics. Green tea is what they all drink.
Green tea, yeah. So I always get patients that have issues with, saying that, green tea causes an increase in heart rate. And I believe, and, making sure that whether it is decaffeinated green tea beans, green bean coffee, green
green tea leaves,
green tea leaves
beans.
Or coffee beans, making sure it is not laden with pesticides.
Yeah, organic.
You want to go with that, and
not full of a lot of other junk.
Exactly. So my thing is, I'm a coffee drinker, and I used to drink about 3 to 4 cups a day. Now I've just limited it to 1. So just going in moderation so you still enjoy what you love. And so what I do is I make that 1 cup last me pretty much the whole day. I sip on it slowly.
That's what Dr. Chris does.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. Yeah, Matt and I have cut back. We love it. We do the Ticino coffee replacement, which is made like with inulin and chicory, really healthy digestive things. It tastes phenomenal. So we do half and half now. I feel so much better. My morning, like go, is definitely calmer, more controlled. So we both cut back. See?
Good.
Big changes since we saw each other. All right, so the next thing that all the healthy countries have going on is fermented foods. So that was something as the cook in that household, and most countries do it that are healthy, is like kimchi, miso, sauerkrauts. So that was, every plate had to have daikon radish and kimchi. Which the first time I made kimchi, boy, that was a disaster. But and not all kimchi has to be spicy like we buy in the stores. Most of the time it's spicy. You don't have to have it spicy if that's not your thing. But I will tell you that in a lot of culture, energetically, and that this studying goes back 5,000 years, is the color of the produce or the food does represent the organ system. So why I mention that is because if you look at spicy, like cayenne and peppers, they're red, fiery. So for the heart, it does like spicy, fiery, but it also likes rhubarb, beets, beef. So red things really good for the heart. And I bet you some listeners now are like going, did she just say beef? I thought you're supposed to avoid beef. Yeah, so huge controversy, but I'll tell you one diet thing. I promise I wasn't going to say no's on this list, but there is one thing that every health expert agrees on when it comes to heart disease is no processed food, no flour. And I think why beef, one of the reasons it's getting such a bad rap, because the beef we have today is not the beef we had 100 years ago. Now it's fed candy, corn, grain, farm raised, this whole industry of it versus having this tiny little piece, with some vegetables and kimchi. It's not that anymore. They would have like less than a palm size of these natural roaming beautiful beasts that were respected and cared for and part of the family for the most part. So that's why I think beef has gotten a bad rap. So I'll agree with the people that say don't eat beef if that's the kind you're going to buy. But if, like here, we're lucky, the Treasure Coast has a lot of local ranchers that are respecting their animals and treating them properly and feeding them properly. So if you do decide to eat beef, only eat that way or don't eat it at all. That's my advice. And
the majority of heart disease is created by non-communicable issues. And so when we're looking at fermented foods, we're looking at actually incorporating good bacteria with the fermented foods into our system. So things like streptococcus, bacterial infections can actually affect the heart and cause that weakness.
Yes.
So bacteria such as probiotics that you get from fermented foods are going to be beneficial for the heart when you talk about more nutrition in that aspect. Also, the beets are also great because it has a high amounts of L-arginine in it, and that's going to help open up the blood vessel.
Yep. And lower blood pressure.
And lower blood pressure.
Yep.
Yes.
I should mention too, I think this is super cool. So we said here in America, I think like 5 or so years ago, that, there's all these studies that oral health has a reflection on heart health, which I thought was a little funny because Chinese medicine has been saying that for 5,000 years. So we're a little behind on that. But one of the checks you can do, and again, there's YouTube videos on this and studies on this, is look at your tongue. So the tongue, direct connection to the heart. So it's supposed to be fleshy and pink and red. So if there's cracks, discoloring, just doesn't look like a nice even shape, then these are things to show you need to give your heart some loving. You need to pay more attention.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about the dentist and removing things and putting fake things in. It's about looking at that tongue and knowing that your heart is in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, you want to do number 7?
Number 7.
Yep.
7.
Because I'm guilty of not doing
active. Yes, being active, huge for heart health. And once again, oxygenation, we want to maximize that in our body. And so getting actual activity in your daily routine. And when I say activity, I'm not saying going to the gym for an hour, 2 hours. It's just, walking around your block for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and not stressing your body out. This is getting blood flow, oxygen supported throughout your whole body. And using public transportation because, you're not getting right to the front door of your house.
And it's a time to socialize as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
Meeting people, congregating,
all
and building that community.
All use public transportation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So public transportation is huge. And I see that coming huge in our community tradition.
Yep.
Yeah, with
it's with those little buses.
With those little buses dropping you off and you having to walk to your
circle and crash.
Yes.
But at least they're trying.
Yes.
But I see a lot more people bicycle riding, so it's
so
cool.
Getting out and doing an activity, with the children and the weather's cooling down. So getting out, walking, taking them out in the cool weather.
So I'm glad we're in this order now because I had to do number 8. So I've been guilty at home drinking too much wine. And I will tell you that it started, unfortunately, I'm going to sound really like, but it was when my mom passed away. I started using wine as a coping mechanism to help me sleep because I was sad. And I was like, okay, this really stinks right now. But I had a lot of friends that cared about me and a lot of customers that would say, but Joanne, that's not a big deal. There's the French paradox. The wine is so good for you. So I actually did one of my radio shows back 9 years ago on that subject, right? And why did I just say 9 years? It's only 7 years. Whoa. Okay, anyway, so on the subject, because I was like, well, this doesn't feel good. Every time I'm drinking wine, I don't feel healthy. So something must be wrong. And I don't really believe that this is what's making all these French people healthy with their heart. So if you look at where the study comes from, not about the French paradox, but just about wine in general being healthy, it's this family, a farming family that for multi-generations have run an organic vineyard where they get up before the sun, they work the vineyard the whole day, they come back in and as a loving group family make a fresh dinner together, and that is where they enjoy their 2 glasses of their wine right off their vineyard. And so, yes, they've had no heart attacks in that family ever. What a shocker, right? So, I find that very comical that that's where the headlines comes from. So I did more research. So the wine in France, they respect their grapes. These things can be their livelihoods that would make or break their country with their import-export. So it's really critical that you think about that. Why? Because they are not going to spray it with chemicals that won't make those multi-generations root exist 10 years from now or 100 years from now. These things are prized possessions. They're guarded for in some families. So first of all, it's grown where it's supposed to be grown, in the right climate, in the right regions. It's not sprayed pesticides, fungicides. And the grapes have a high yielding amount of what they call OPC. Okay, OPC, I sell it at the store, has hundreds of clinical studies to protect the arteries, lower oxidative stress, increase circulation. So you can get it here in the States, all the health benefits. And what I sell is from France. So if you do buy it, make sure it's from France, because just like I explained, you can buy stuff that's peanut shells that appears to be OPC from China. So make sure you're getting a reputable one of OPC. You get all the heart benefits, but without the alcohol hurting the liver, the pesticides, because the wine here in the States, at least like I buy Josh, $8 bottles, that's not what they're drinking in France. Okay, so just to be out there, and that's why now I do maybe 2 glasses a week, which is an amazing growth for me. So I'm super proud of that. But I know headaches can come from it. So it's not healthy. No, you don't sleep well. You're dehydrated. Yeah, so please don't believe that myth that, oh, wine's good for me. Let me just have, numerous glasses. It's not. And I think we all really know it if we drink it a lot, because we don't feel well. Especially a menopausal woman should stay really far away from it.
And number 9, we have fish.
Fish, yes.
Fish, because you're getting a great amount of omegas in your body.
Omega-3s
that we're all deficient in our standard American diet. So omega-3s are very essential for creating a proper and a healthy cardiovascular system. With the fish, you want to make sure that it is wild caught and cold water fish, not farm raised. A lot of our fishing products today, just like the beef, is farm raised due to the production. So you want to make sure it's wild caught.
Definitely. And now you can really access that fresh wild fish. I mean, even I went to Walmart and they had a few choices for wild line caught fish. So that was really made me happy, because it was affordable and it was clean. So definitely there's no excuse. And I know a lot of kids or family members say, oh, I just don't like fish. You can doctor it up, or you can buy, like I sell Barlean's Omega Swirls. They taste like lemon pie and they're just sweetened with stevia. And I want to make a big point of that. They are finding that 88% of the heart cases that go to the emergency room have most 40% were normal cholesterol levels, but what was the marker in all of them was metabolic syndrome. What's metabolic syndrome? Belly fat, high sugars, and again, you do not have to be diabetic to have high sugars. You can binge once a week and damage your artery lining. So the inflammation of the arteries is what causes that cholesterol to stop and build up. So don't blame this innocent cholesterol that really has an important job to do. Your little cookie binge last night, or your big pasta bowl with the big bottle of wine, that's going to really hurt your arteries much faster than your cholesterol that makes hormones and brain cells and really important stuff. So really take an honest look at that. And cholesterol is good for you. Yeah. Metabolics, I always say we're born with it. It doesn't hurt us,
Yeah.
And
our brain is made up of that.
Yep. So metabolic syndrome, do your research on that. Basically, if you can grab below the belt a nice big handful, you got metabolic syndrome. So definitely work on that. But that was just a side note.
Belly fat is smaller portions.
Well, so that was what the 3 countries also have in common. But they do, if you ever seen, the movies, they have lots of little things. So like with the French, a little olives, a little this, a little that, and where they always say, but they eat so much pasta. Well, like a little tiny bowl of spaghetti is their appetizer. appetizer. It's not their huge main dish. Like, you get at Olive Garden, pasta for 6 on one plate. So smaller portions, like I mentioned, the first tip, chewing them well. But also too, and Dr. Ravi, I know you get this, if you notice in these countries, they don't count calories. They don't go by macronutrients. They're not going about protein and fat and carbs, and
they're not counting
they
all
don't
that.
count. They don't get
They
little
don't have an
apps. Yeah, they don't have an app. I love it how we said it at the
Yeah.
same time. It's like the energy of the food, their intuition. They go by what their body tells them. Is this time for this? And they don't eat if they're not hungry. They don't eat when they're upset. They don't eat when they're stressed. They learn to use the energy of the food and their energy of the body to connect. And a lot of them, you call it yin or yang or whatever in the different, areas of the country. But it's really important to listen, quiet down your mind and body, and be mindful about your choices. All right, we got a minute left, Dr. Ravi.
At the end of the day, we're all in control of our own health.
Yes.
Not our hospital system, our insurance companies. That just gets you into trouble.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And once a year, I love the people, I'm going to eat really good this week because I have my blood test on Friday. I'm like, really? Who's tricking who? I mean, so you don't tell them about the Krispy Kreme you're eating every morning. So it's
Yeah.
it's really, but I always try to be really honest on the show to say, like, hey, you don't have to be perfect, but you can still be mindful and make it where you're not on high blood pressure drugs, anti-anxiety drugs, sleep drugs. And, you don't have to be on all these drugs. You really don't. That's just a huge multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry that's trying to take control of your health. Mm-hmm. They're not sitting with you at the kitchen table. You got to do it. You got to be mindful and really just respect your body. It was so good to hang out with you this morning.
It was great having me. Thank you.
Yes, and we did a tough subject,
yes,
especially right now.
Yeah,
you
big
go
over in an hour.
Yeah, we did. Isn't that a miraculous?
Yeah.
Oh, and really quick note, if you want a really accurate cholesterol blood test, insurance usually doesn't cover it, but it's called an NMR or cardio IQ because it's not about the cholesterol number. It's about the particle size of cholesterol. You can have number 300 and still be healthy. So the doctor won't do this for you because it's not covered by insurance. So
you ask
NMR,
for it.
Ask for it. It's your health. You ask for it. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thanks for having me.
A great week. Of course, anytime. All right. Bye, everybody.
Joanne's World of Nutrition with archives on YouTube. Look for WPSLTV.com. That's where you'll find all of the playlists. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.